There is a moment of truth where the artist faces the white canvas and you make the first move. And all of a sudden, you reveal yourself. I hope to discuss basic principles that I operate on, how I see working as an architect today, and some of the pitfalls, some of the issues that I'm confronted with, some of my fears about what's happening in the future. I guess we're always afraid of the future. Overall, sharing the way I play the game, what I'm interested in. It's not about trying to be like me, it's trying to be like being about themselves and finding their own way that I hope I'm promoting. I don't think you should become Frank Gehry, little Frank Gehrys, or big Frank Gehrys, or even medium Frank Gehrys. By showing you how I'm doing it and the thoughts that are in my mind as I'm working and the things that are important to me and the processes and how I interact with the clients and world around me, it gives you an idea of how an architect today has been working. I'm Frank Gehry, and this is my master class. Architecture, it chose me more than I chose it. When I was in high school in Canada, and they had vocational guidance books in the library of what different professions, I remember going to the library and studying all of them, and I picked architecture out because why, I don't know. And the University of Toronto class in architecture, they were very proud that one of the projects was to design a little cottage, like a little stone cottage with a fireplace. And I just closed the book and put it away. I wasn't interested in that. My cousin was a chemical engineer, and in my whole family, he was somebody I looked up to because he was a chemical engineer, and they talked about him as this big chemical engineer. I thought, well, I did good in chemistry, so maybe I'd do that. I signed up for vocational guidance in chemical engineering, and I was the only one in the class that signed up for it, so the scientist or the chemical engineer came, picked me up, took me out to his lab, and he was making paints for General Motors, I think. And they had a bunch of beakers and Bunsen burners and all kinds of stuff. It looked pretty exciting. And he let me stay there for a couple hours. And they were doing a thing called titration. So they do a test on something, very small variations, like tiny, tiny variations. And while I was there, they did 100 of them. Variations like dum, 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 dum. And they were testing all these things. And I looked at the guy and I said, "Get me out of here." So I knew I wasn't going to do that. I didn't have the patience for that. Family was poor. I was a truck driver. I went to night school and I took a class in ceramics. And the ceramics teacher, who was pretty well known at the time, Glenn Lukens, took me aside one day and said, "This ain't for you, but I think architecture might be." And he put me in a class, and he must have paid for the tuition because I couldn't afford it. Then it took off. That was the first time anybody liked anything I did. And certainly made me feel good, and I kept doing more. So it got me, but I suppose it was inevitable. But the signs were all there probably.